What is up, wrestling fans? It's that time of the week for the FanlightZone.com wrestling team to talk all things pro wrestling and call it right down the middle. That's right, it's time for this week's edition of 607 TWS, the wrestling show. And of course, this week we are not live. I just wanted to get a peek behind the curtain. We are not live, but we are coming to you pre-taped in our normal live slot right now. If you're watching us on X, Twitch, or YouTube, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, I am your host of this show. I'm also the executive producer over at Fanlight Zone. My name is Rich, and joining me in the co-pilot's chair, as she does each and every week right here on this show, she is the hunter of the Pokemans, because she's got to catch them all. She is the guru of cosplay. But most importantly for this show, she is a pro grappling aficionado. That's right. It is the first lady of Fanlight Zone. It is Sammy. And how are you this week, Miss Sammy?
I'm doing good, but I've thought about it. I've never actually cosplayed as a professional wrestler. I think I might have to do that this year. Stay tuned, everyone.
There you go. There you go. That could be something interesting to do, especially for a special show upcoming. Of course, I did mention in the brief open that we are not coming to you live. We are coming to you pre-recorded. And that is because as of the live date, the 15th of January, that is my birthday. So I will be traveling out of town to celebrate my birthday. So we wanted to make sure we got you a wrestling show. So we had to come to you pre-recorded, but we are streaming across the normal channels. So that would be X, Twitch, and of course, right on YouTube. But Sammy, we got a jam-packed show to talk about. We're leading in tonight to one of the things we will be talking about, of course, that being the debut episode of TNA's Thursday Night Impact. But before we talk about that and so much more, we have to first and foremost talk about the place where you need to go if you would like to support the place that powers us. And that, of course, FanlightZone.com, and I'm pointing up because that QR code will take you over to FanlightZone.com. There you can find the comic books in pop culture. That's what we're doing. We're a brand new website. Come join the revolution. Come with us on this journey as we build and do bigger and better things. Of course, one of the premier spots for comic book reviews, and I'm not just saying that because I write reviews for comics, but also because, hey, we put in one hell of a work, and we have one hell of a hardworking team. So go support them. Of course, I do have it on good authority that the dog will be starting his pro wrestling blog coming up. So there will be a weekly pro wrestling blog plus other articles, hopefully in the not too distant future, for pro wrestling, as well as, some other content and stuff like that to complement 607 TWS as a whole. So go over to fanlightsZone.com and check all that out. And then the other call to action we have is, once again, noting out that FanlightZone.com is where you can go to find all of our links to social medias, because we're very active on the social medias. And but the most important part of this screen is, if you are watching us on Twitch or on X, make sure you're following us there, because every time we go live, we will be live on those wonderful platforms. However, our home is the FLZ YouTube channel. So Fanlight Zone on YouTube. That is where all the videos will go up that are not live. And make sure, if you're not there already, you go over and smash that subscribe button. Click the bell icon for notifications so you know whenever we go live or whenever a new video is posted. And last but not least, hit that thumbs up to let the bosses know you want more pro grappling talk and, content in general over at the newly formed Fanlight Zone YouTube channel. Not quite 2 months in, Sammy. Not quite 2 months in. And we were the flagship show off of that. We were the first. Yeah. Hence the 6 episodes in.
It's been a ride.
It's a ride. It has been a ride, and it's going to continue to be a ride. So join us for that ride. But they didn't come here to hear us talk about Fanlight Zone or FanlightZone.com or even the YouTube channel, which hopefully they're watching us on. But they did come here to hear us talk pro wrestling. And I think we have to open with the biggest news in what I assume is the biggest news in pro wrestling this week. In a big week is what went down this past Friday night on SmackDown, as there was a 3 stages of hell match for the undisputed WWE Championship. Your champion, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, taking on the Scottish Psychopath, Drew McIntyre. And we'll get into what happened there, but let's just, cut right to the finish. We had an new undisputed WWE champion. Drew McIntyre is now your champion. He holds the title, of course, Real hard fought match, but it came down to the return of Jacob Fatu, who initially took out Drew McIntyre because, of course, if you don't remember, Jacob Fatu blames Drew McIntyre for his injury. We don't know how true or not that is. We're going to find out. But then after taking out Drew McIntyre, interestingly enough, Jacob Fatu set his sights on Cody Rhodes. And this allowed Drew McIntyre to win the WWE Championship. Of course, Sammy, what were your thoughts on the match? And of course, more importantly, the new WWE Champion.
Yeah, it was interesting to see obviously, rolling out, the big show for, the first SmackDown and getting big title match, 3 stages of hell, something that hasn't happened in a long time. So, you're really going for it, which is, a good, change of pace for WWE. Jacob Fatu coming back, instantly inserting himself into the upper top card of SmackDown. That's a big change because, before he was kind of floating more in the middle, blah, but knowing his star power and talent right at the top. And then obviously the big flop, Cody laying down, losing the belt to Drew. And obviously Drew is a remarkable wrestler and someone worthy of a title run, but right before Royal Rumble season to see the belt flips, I guess that means Cody could potentially be in the Royal Rumble. Maybe, someone, that's how his story is going to go. Maybe, not involved in WrestleMania main event at all. I mean, it changes the game.
Oh, absolutely. And I thought it was interesting. First and foremost, I want to talk about the match. Very good match. Also, SmackDown as a whole, I thought SmackDown's premiere was way better than the Raw premiere. That's just my opinion.
Agreed.
And I will stand by that one. But the match was great. The return of Jacob Fatu, nobody saw coming, and it definitely didn't see coming. The attack on Cody Rhodes, the new champion. We kind of speculated that maybe the WWE needed a fresh shot in the arm somewhere, and maybe this was that fresh shot in the arm. Drew McIntyre is a very capable worker. Obviously, we can sing his praises, but he's been champion a lot longer this time than his last run with a title belt. So that's always nice. And so I think that was my big takeaway. So my 2 questions, I have 2 more questions for this before we move on here. And the first one was because we and you kept talking about creative, bankruptcy. That was the word of 2025, especially for World Wrestling Entertainment. And you in particular were saying about how WWE needed a fresh shot in the arm. Do you believe, and I'm not saying this is going to fix all the problems, but do you believe that the Drew McIntyre title win on SmackDown, being that it was on SmackDown, be in a big match like 3 stages of hell that we haven't seen in a while, and then in the last point, of course, obviously him winning the belt unexpectedly, especially going into Royal Rumble / WrestleMania season, is this kind of maybe a sign of a shot in the arm? Is this at least a mini shot in the arm, if you will?
It's certainly a mini shot in the arm, and it very well could turn into a big shot in the arm. And I think the key thing that happens here is, where does Drew go from here? Who is that first feud? If it jumps right into Jacob Fatu, perfect. It's new, it's fresh. We haven't seen it year over year after year, and that would be exciting. If it continues with Cody, yawn, snooze. We've seen that for the past couple months, and so I think that's really the key thing, is where do both competitors go from here? If Drew starts feuding with Jacob and sets off into a program that lasts, even just a month or two, okay, I'm in for that. And Cody goes to do something else. Okay, obviously he's going to get back to this story of getting into the Royal Rumble, and someone's gonna, interfere with him winning the Royal Rumble. That's probably the most logical path. Okay, move some pieces away from each other, start moving some different pieces together, then it's a huge shot in the arm. If it's not, and you roll back the same stuff,
I mean, I'm with you on that. I actually agree with your sentiments to 100%. So there's no reason for me to really secondary them. I will note that rumor has it, this is rumor, that Cody Rhodes is getting some time off because of the birth of his new child, which we know that he has a brand new daughter not that long ago, hasn't really taken any time off. That he's like a work machine. He did learn from his mentor John Cena on being a machine. So maybe a little bit of time off, which I would assume, like you, that little bit of time off would mean that he's coming back at Royal Rumble. That would just be my assumption. Maybe working a lighter schedule for a little bit, that might be nice, and you get kind of freshen up. But then there's the other part of this storyline wise, the Jacob Fatu stuff. And it was very odd that Jacob Fatu, and I mean, I get from the storyline perspective that he is accusing Drew McIntyre of putting him on the shelf. So that made sense. But then the Cody stuff. And so the internet's talking. And I mean, I've been listening. There's a whole bunch of things out there. I mean, there's the possibility is, hey, get Cody out of the way so he can have a feud with Drew McIntyre, put himself in the main event picture. That's fine. I'm fine with that. The other thing, though, and remember, we Family Zone, comic books and pop culture. Comic books and pop culture, one and the same. And I'm going to use a comic book reference. The other rumor is that, or I should start, not even say rumor, the other, chatter is about the fact that maybe Jacob Fatu is the herald of Roman Reigns, the tribal chief. I think this is an interesting thing. Once again, we're going to teasing at the end of the show. We're with as lackluster as this build to the Royal Rumble has been. We talked about it last week. We are going to be doing some bold predictions there. But what if this was a way of saying Roman coming back, knowing he can't beat Cody? So let's get it on somebody I possibly can move myself back with champion. I'm just saying for storyline purpose. I'm not saying that he's going to win it. My question to you is this. Does that mean Cody wins the belt back sooner? Does that mean we get to WrestleMania and we have a fresh matchup? Maybe Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre? Does that mean we go completely fresh with Jacob Fatu? There's so many things. I will say this. I'm still not super pumped for the Royal Rumble. There's still a lot, but there's this and the next thing we talk about have got me a little more interested. And that's why we're having that editorial question at the end. But what with this chatter around the internet, what stock are you putting? Do you think that Jacob Fatu is working as that lone Samoan werewolf, or is he the herald for one Roman Reigns?
Well, I think it would be odd as they have built him up as as a bit of a loner to circle back to Roman Reigns. I do agree with the conversation of doing everything you can to keep Roman and Cody away from each other in terms of a match right now, because we've seen that run back for a while. So the idea of Cody losing to Drew in a weird way, and then a Roman and a Drew, something like to get the belt back to Roman. I can get that, but I don't know. The Samoan werewolf, it was really kind of set up to be his own thing. It's plausible, but the bloodline story right now is very much just kind of way on the back burner, like on the backest of back burners, and I don't know if that's the best way to heat it back up again. I want to see Jacob Fatu, fly on his own.
I agree. I think that would be the fresher thing, but you never know. We're gonna have to stay tuned and watch. What we do know is on Monday Night Raw, we had some fresh happenings as well. So once again, giving it a little question here. Maybe we're trying to turn some fresh corners. Of course, we witnessed on the first Raw of the new year, CM Punk would retain the World Heavyweight Championship as he defeated Braun Breaker, and we assumed that the vision and their business with Punk wasn't going to be over. However, we get to Raw. CM Punk cuts a great promo. No vision to be seen. Maybe, just maybe, we're moving off of that. And as Punk was getting ready to leave, though, I'm going to throw the graphic up now. He was confronted by one Finn Balor, who earlier in the night was challenged by Liv Morgan. He said, "Oh, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show all of you." And he comes out and he makes a challenge. CM Punk says, "Hey, a few weeks back, you mentioned my name in a promo. And I'm here to take some, I want my shot." And of course, CM Punk in true Punk fashion lets him know, hey, that was a while ago, and now you're just getting around to saying something? Like, you have to grab the bull by the horns. Maybe that's what's wrong with you, is you aren't out here grabbing the bull by the horns. But you know what? I came here to Germany to fight. So I'll tell you what, I'll put the World Championship on the line. I'll go in the back. I'll put on my gear. You can put your gear on. And I'll come out here and defend the World Heavyweight title against you tonight in Dusseldorf, Germany. And Finn Balor says, no. You've had a lot of home field advantage in Chicago, but I want home field advantage. So next week, Belfast, Ireland, the Prince versus the Saint for the World Heavyweight Championship. And of course, CM Punk accepts, because why the hell wouldn't he accept, right? So with that being said, we are now getting Finn Balor, who, like we said a while ago, lost in the sauce in the failing Judgment Day angle that nobody gives a damn about, all of a sudden being shot right into the main event for the World Heavyweight title, which I've always argued Finn Balor's the kind of guy you can put in the world title match because he's credible, right? So now we're going to get a big time dream match in a lot of ways. Punk Balor World Heavyweight title next Monday on Raw. Once again, I'm going to ask you twofold. What do you think about this matchup? Also, is this another maybe fresh shot in the arm? Your thoughts, Sammy?
I struggle with this one because I am a huge Finn Balor supporter. I've loved his work in WWE and even beyond that, as Prince Devitt and such. However, you said he feels credible moving into the main event scene, but to me, it's a dream match. It's a fresh match. It's two people that we know are going to go out there and do an amazing work in the ring and tell an amazing story. But just that weird kind of like just ick of like immediately just getting a title shot after doing nothing for the past couple months. I just can't get past that ick. And I love Finn Balor. I truly do. But like, it just feels a little hot shotty and a little bit of like, oh, we have a show in Ireland. We got to roll Finn Balor out. We need to roll Becky Lynch out. And that just feels kind of icky. I don't really like that. If you had started really driving this a couple of weeks ago with the rest of the Judgment Day, piling on Finn about this, then I'd be a little bit more credible to me. But if this continues, maybe this is just a launching point. You could keep going with this. Okay, then you could build off that. But right now, to me, it just feels a little icky.
I hear what you're saying, but I think that I can't on one hand, calling it right down the middle, I can't on one hand complain about you not giving me fresh matchups. And then when you give me a fresh matchup, I have to sit here and go, yeah, but I don't want this fresh matchup. And this is a dream match. Finn Balor versus CM Punk is a main event caliber match anywhere in the world. Once again, I take less umbrage to it because, Finn Balor is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. Obviously, CM Punk is the world heavyweight champion and also first ballot Hall of Famer. So at that point in juncture, yeah, I think that anytime you can say a guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer, I believe that means that he can get a title shot whenever they want. I'm not saying that it should work out generally like that, but right now, I want to see something fresh and something new. Does the ends justify the means that we're in Belfast? Sure. But here's the thing. It does create some intrigue. Like, I've been complaining about there not being enough intrigue, and I'm not excited in Royal Rumble season, which means, what does that mean for WrestleMania season? And here is another opportunity where we just saw Cody Rhodes unexpectedly lose the WWE Championship. And I'm not saying Punk is going to, but now you have to think, oh, that's a possibility. If you would have asked me before last Friday, if we would have booked Punk and Balor the Monday before, and we talked about it last week, I'd have been like, oh, this is going to be, I would have been a little more down. I would have been like, oh, this is going to be a throwaway. They're going to pin Balor, use them up. We're going to probably have some things in the vision. Now, mind you, granted, they can still do all these things, right? But now I have to let it enter my head that, hey, I thought that was what was going to happen with Drew McIntyre. And what actually happened was Drew McIntyre walked out the new WWE champion. So there is now a kernel of doubt that Finn Balor. I don't know if it's as large as the Drew McIntyre one, but it is interesting because you could do something very interesting here and have Finn Balor win the World Heavyweight Championship. However, you could do something equally as interesting and not involve the Vision, because I'm tired of it, which I still fear is going to happen. But maybe this is where we finally get rid of Judgment Day for good, because I think everybody's calling for it. Dominic Mysterio cost him the match.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately an outcome that's very plausible is the implosion of the Judgment Day, because the best way to judge it, is after the fact and Monday morning quarterback everything. But if we go through this match and Finn Balor ultimately ends up losing, and then 2 weeks from now Finn Balor's back to playing video games in the back, I mean, what did it really prove besides trying to have a big moment in Belfast, which we know WWE is all about the big moments.
Right. Well, here's the thing. there's a lot of different storylines you can come out here, and I hope that you pick one. Once again, I'm not putting a lot of faith because, as we've said, we said it once, we've said it a million times, creatively bankrupt. Because here's the thing: if you play your cards right, you can do this one of two ways. You make, and it still serves the same master. You make Finn Balor the champion, which shoots another shot of fresh adrenaline into a very lackluster product, right? And then now you have the situation where Dominic Mysterio's jealous, and he can be a face going after Finn Balor's heel character for the world title, which makes sense. However, you could also do it the other way without throwing this away, where Dominic Mysterio accidentally cost Finn Balor the match. So now Finn Balor's like, well, since you cost me that belt, I'm taking your belts. And I would start by having him take the AAA belt because Finn Balor's been doing a lot of work there. And I would continue by having him take the Intercontinental title and then beating the living snot out of him. And then having Raquel and Raquel and Roxanne turn on Liv Morgan and oust them from and that creates the whole thing. You can write this and make this happen either way. Once again, do I have faith that any of this good stuff will happen? No, because I think they'll probably just have the Vision interfere, even though Braun Breaker's supposed to be suspended. He's going to stick his nose in there. And that's how we're going to end it.
So not to pivot too much into just a Monday Night Raw, I actually really liked this segment with the Vision and the Braun Breaker suspension. But to call it right down the middle, it's kind of feeling like Braun Breaker and his buddies versus an actual very like strong storyline cohesive group. It's kind of feeling like, okay, Braun Breaker is the one that we're really pushing, and everyone else is kind of just there. And I don't love that because it was meant to be a group of everyone. But again, plans change. Seth Rollins getting hurt really threw a monkey wrench into everything. But we'll see what happens. Royal Rumble season. It's time to reset everything.
I'll call it right down the middle, Sammy. It is WWE's Don Callis family.
Yeah. With a better manager, though. Paul Heyman greater than Don Callis.
True. Well, yeah, obviously true. But once again, think about it. It's basically what's going on in Don Callis family. It's a vehicle to push Okada or Takeshita or Kyle Fletcher, because those are the top. And then everybody else is just there to eat pins. And in this case, it's just Braun Breaker, but they're also a lot smaller. They have like a quarter of the members of the Don Callis family, or an eighth of members, whatever it is. But you know what I mean.
Four now. Stay
tuned. They keep adding. They keep adding people. But yeah, I that's what I fear. But we're going to find out in this upcoming Monday on Raw, and I'm all right with it. I'm all right overall. Once again, like I said, I can't complain too much, being that I said that I wanted to see fresh matchups, and now I'm getting them, and I can't be like, oh well, but I understand your qualms with it. And also, like I said, I have reservations because creative bankruptcy still is running wild, brother.
Well, I guess one last point for me, though, and I'll be curious if you have any input on it because you might not even thought about it yet. Weird start time for Monday Night Raw next week. It's like 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yes and no, because it was the same as this past week.
Right.
This past week started at 2 p.m., and that's because they're in Europe. So now, because they're on Netflix, they're able to start whenever the hell they want. I'm not opposed to it, but it does kind.
Let's fast forward a little bit here.
Right. So my issue. So being a person who understands the worldwide forever, everybody had to cater to the U.S. And now the U.S. fans occasionally have to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Bothered to have to be uncatered, to be not catered to, right? Like that's the best word. I'm trying to word it really good. My problem still stands, though, that at the end of the day, your main source of income, your main place of activity is the U.S. So to your point, I'm going to watch Raw with my hand on a fast forward button because I don't have to watch it live because I'll be at work. So who's winning? Like it's a weird catch-22. I get it. And once again, we've inconvenienced the world, I guess, in a way. But once again, if you're around the world, you should understand that because you're watching a product that's out of the U.S.
Right.
So it makes sense to be inconvenienced. I understand with the technology, we can start the shows earlier, but I understand with the internet, even if you don't start the show early, we're going to get the reports online. which we've had before. But at least if you're running it in the States live, it makes it hard live to record like we're doing here. It makes it hard to fast forward because technically it's still live. It's still a live broadcast, even though it was recorded. So it makes more sense to me to do it that way. But hey, what do I know? What do I know? 340 million views on Netflix last year in their first year on Netflix. Did you see that? 340 million views, or viewing hours, I should say. Sorry, viewing hours. Not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad. But if you do the math, it's not as monster as you think it would be, because then you got to divide by 52, et cetera, et cetera. So, and that's not counting how many times people watch it multiple times. It's a slippery slope. Slippery slope. All right, but we have some good news. Let's get out of the world of WWE, because we got to talk about the big news that's outside the WWE this week, and huge news. And I remember back when you and I, Sammy, first saw this was going to happen. There was this thing going down. We heard about this wonderful, wonderful TV deal, and then it became a reality. And now, on my birthday, what a birthday present. That's Thursday. That's tonight if you're watching us live, but it's Thursday if you're not. January the 15th, TNA Thursday Night Impact on AMC. That's right. First ever Thursday Night Impact. And we're going to talk about that show, because I think that this is, it deserves its due diligence. If you were watching our show live, there's a reason why we're trying to finish up from before 9 o'clock. So you can tune right on over to AMC and enjoy Thursday Night Impact. And they have one hell of a show for the first show. Sammy, well, let's talk about it real quick. They've announced some big stuff. Of course, they will be coming to you from live. By the way, the first week will be live from the Curtis Caldwell Center in Dallas, Texas. That will also come in play to what we talk about after this. And we've got some pretty good stuff going on. So first and foremost, they've announced some matches. We have a 6-man tag team extravaganza, as Elijah will tag with the TNA World Tag Team Champions, the Hardys, to take on Order 4. So Mustafa Ali and the Righteous. Then we will have the TNA Knockouts Tag Team Champions, the Inspiration, take on former champions, the Elegance brand. And then in the main event of the evening, the TNA World's Heavyweight Championship will be on the line, as your champion, the man who says he's the franchise, Mr. TNA, Frankie Kazarian, will take on the former champion, Mike Santana. But there's stuff looming all over the place, because on commentary for the main event, Bully Ray will be on commentary. And of course, Nick Nemeth has been saying that he is waiting, biding his time to cash in his shot chance at the title. So that could also happen on Impact. And then the biggest piece of news, making his return to the Impact Zone. He returned on pay-per-view not that long ago, but this will be the first episode, the new Impact Zone. And the man who I would say would be Mr. Impact Zone, the phenomenal one, AJ Styles, fresh off of his kind of screw job loss. By the way, I know I didn't bring it up. Clever loss. I love that tap out. That was beautiful. Gunther tapping out. Referee doesn't see it. Cheats the win. Loved it. I hope that we go further with Gunther versus AJ Styles, which I think we will. But AJ is going to be on the first episode of Impact. So, Sammy, we can talk about these matches, break them down. But first and foremost, what are your thoughts on the first episode of TNA Thursday Night Impact on AMC?
And this is an absolutely amazing card, and it's really highlighting TNA in a lot of ways. You know, you have your WWE involvement. You're getting that with AJ being there, and the couple of former WWE guys who've become mainstays on the roster there. But you have the TNA, originals. You got a couple of title matches. You got some champions out there. You got a little bit of everything, and this is a really solid card. It's an incredibly solid, creatively company, and it's going to be really exciting to watch. Because big infusion of cash, They're going to put it somewhere. We talked about it before. We're really hopeful they're just going to put it on the production side of things, that they're just going to focus on enhancing the quality of the product, that they're not going to make the big spend. But let's be honest, it's pro wrestling. You know they're going to make some sort of a signing, some sort of a send. Every pro wrestling show ever on these debuts always does something big, and the rumor mill's been churning. We've heard Chris Jericho, we've heard Karrion Kross, every free agent available out there. So it'll be interesting to see who shows up in the Impact Zone, and the fan might zone us. We'll be covering it.
That's right, and my money is on Andrade El Idolo because he seems to show up everywhere.
Can he go there? Maybe. Why not?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Well, allegedly he wasn't allowed to sign with AEW. Then he debuts in New Japan, and I go, who knows? Who knows? But I joke, I kid. No,
Maybe John Cena. He's retired.
True. You have a great card. You have a wonderful world title match, big rematch there. You're making it feel like a big deal with Bully Ray on the call. You also have Nick Nemeth, that great storyline of Nick Nemeth looming. Nick Nemeth could pick this to call his shot, because what bigger place to call your shot than on the debut episode on AMC? Then you turn around and you got the Knockouts tag titles on the line. I'm not really a Elegance brand kind of guy, but I will say that they've had a hell of a run, and they've had a hell of a feud with the Inspiration. So that's a good feud there. And then, of course, like I said, we've had recently, and it's going to pay off when we talk about Genesis here in a minute. You have Elijah returning and him feuding with Mustafa Ali. And of course, you have Order 4, which has the Righteous now. And on the other side, you got the World Tag Team Champions, the Hardys, which is also involved in. So you have this 6-man tag that's got a lot of implications for coming up. And then not to boot, you have AJ Styles, amongst other things. Obviously not everything has been announced for the show. That's pretty much it. But I just think that if you're talking about putting your best foot forward, I agree with you. A major signing would be a feather in the cap here, a big surprise, something big surprise, maybe to finish out the night, whether it be a Karrion Kross, whether it be a Chris Jericho, whether it be an Andrade El Idolo, or whoever it may be, whoever it may fall. Or maybe even, hey, what if AJ Styles is announced to get a shot at the pay-per-view, or he walks out with the championship? There's so many ways that you could do this to make a huge impact.
Yeah.
No, pun intended, huge impact.
And that's the beauty of that really strong relationship they have with WWE. It doesn't even have to be a new signing. You can hopefully, work with some talent from WWE. And again, AJ Styles main roster, maybe somebody else. You can get some time down there doing something. And I think another point that you just started to touch on, and we're going to move right into it now, segue into it, is the pay-per-view on the weekend. So this show is on Thursday, and then it gets to just kind of sit with you for a little bit, and then you're right into a big pay-per-view. I think that's incredible, timing and booking.
Yeah, we'll jump right into it, because Thursday's the debut on AMC live, and then you're live on pay-per-view 2 days later on Saturday, as we're coming to you from the same building, the Curtis Caldwell Center in Dallas. Well, technically it's outside of Dallas, it's in Garland, Texas, but still Dallas, Texas, the Dallas metro area, if you will. And we're going to be there for Genesis. And let's go ahead and preview and break down TNA Genesis. And like I said, you don't have a bigger lead-in, to your point, than having your brand new show air on TV 2 days before. 48 hours later, well, technically 47 hours later, you'll be live on pay-per-view. So with that, let's break down the card. We're going to go match by match to break it down, because we have some time on our hands to do that. And we're going to start with the three-way match to decide the TNA X Division champion. Your champion going in, Leon Slater, unless he loses the title to Myron Reed, which is upcoming on that first episode of Impact, will be defending the title against Cedric Alexander and former champion Moose. So you have the option. It's either Leon Slater retaining and then defending, or Myron Reed winning and then defending. And either way, you have a big challenge on Thursday, and then you have an even bigger challenge on Saturday, because Cedric Alexander and Moose are very capable. Who do you think's walking out of Genesis, your TNA X Division champion, Sammy?
I think I already kind of teased it there. Friend of the show, Moose.
Yeah, you think so? You know what? I'm going to say, and still Leon Slater. There's a lot of tread on them tires. impressing a lot of people. Great showing against Obafemi. They probably should have made him NXT champion. Just going to throw that out there. All right. Next up, we got a match that's actually been a little bit in the making. AJ Francis taking on Rich Swann. This match was supposed to happen a long time ago. Then they became allies. There's some injuries. And now we're getting it. AJ Francis, Rich Swann. I love the homie Rich Swann, so I'm going for him. I'm going to pick him to win. We've shared many of grape sodas at many of CZW shows. A little peek behind the curtain. I love Rich Swann. Top Dollar is not my friend, so I'm not going to go rooting for Top Dollar. Your choice, Sammy.
I will echo your sentiments and go with Rich Swann.
Then we talked about this a minute ago. This is all being set up in that 6-man tag team extravaganza. We will have Elijah going one-on-one with Mustafa Ali. Mustafa Ali just re-signed with TNA Wrestling. So big news there. And of course, Elijah just returning. A lot of big storylines here. You could go a million different ways. Sammy, who do you think's walking out of Genesis with a lot of momentum on their back?
Yeah, I'm going with Mustafa Ali. He's been such just a stalwart in TNA these past few years, and I think that story's going to continue with him just, tearing it up all up and down that card.
I am 125% agreeing with you. 125% agreeing with you. We're talking Mustafa Ali all day, and I think it's going to be a big year in 2026 for Mustafa Ali. And Order 4. Speaking of which, we got the Hardys, Matt and Jeff Hardy, defending the TNA World Tag Team Championships against the Righteous, Vincent and Dutch. Listen, as much as I love the legends that are Hardys, you didn't bring in, and after all this time off, you didn't bring in the Righteous to have them sit on the bench, I don't think. So I think the right thing is going to be done here. I think the Righteous will be a new TNA World Tag Team Champions when the dust settles at Genesis. Your thoughts, Sammy?
Agree. Although it could be through very interesting means. It may not just be a 1, 2, 3 kind of clean in the ring. There could be some nefarious stuff, which could be fun. But yeah, Righteous.
Yep, I'm with you there. Next up is a retirement match. Not that the retirement's on the line. It is guaranteed. JDC is having his last match. So this is JDC's retirement match, and he is going to go up against his partner in the system, Die Hard Eddie Edwards. Listen, Sammy, who do you got walking out of the retirement match, the winner?
I guess based upon recent retirement match history, I got to go with Eddie. I know the guy retiring, he doesn't seem to win anymore. With Sting, and then nobody else wins.
Someday, I may tell some stories someday about. I will leave you with this. Eddie Edwards has probably taken about 5 years off of my life. I do love Eddie Edwards. He is a friend, and I do love Eddie Edwards. So I always root for Eddie, and so I will be rooting for Eddie here. Eddie Edwards for the win. But yes, at the end of my days, 5 to 10 years of my life, easy. One day I'll tell those stories, but not today. That might have to be something after we set up a paywall, because I don't know how much of it's legal to tell on here, because some crazy nights.
EWS after hours.
Yeah, let's just put it that way. I'll leave another teaser. There was a night that I may or may not have won the Ring of Honor World Championship. I might be in the lineal line of World Championship. I'm just throwing it out there. But we'll talk about that some other time as we move on. As the TNA Knockouts World Championship will be on the line, as Lei Ying Lee will defend the title against Danny Luna. This is an interesting matchup. I mean, Lee winning the belt was kind of caught a lot of people out by surprise, but Danny Luna has been doing some huge things in the Knockouts division now first in the tag division, now the regular Knockouts division. This might be a good time. I'm going to go on the limb here and say, Danny Luna is your new Knockouts champion at the end of the day. Sammy, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I am in agreement with you. There's just something about the aura there. It's like, yeah. New show, new year, new show, start fresh. I think it fits.
Last but certainly not least, we have the main event for the TNA World Championship. Your champion going in will either be if Frankie Kazarian can retain on Thursday, or it could be Mike Santana if he defeats Frankie Kazarian, or it could be Nick Nemeth if he cashes in his shot. So no matter what, It could, that's whatever one of them is the champion. They've listed it all out. TNA is leaving no stones unturned so that the champion has to defend the championship at the pay-per-view, right? However, the opponent is to be determined. It is not announced. So, Sammy, you get to go first here. I want your pick for who do you think is going to be the champion going in? Who do you think is going to be the challenger going in? And then give me your champion walking out. It's a lot.
Oh,
There's a lot to unpack there.
that's a lot. So,
Loaded.
oh boy. Well, I'm assuming there's going to be some sort of a screwy finish on Thursday. So I'm going to go with Frankie Kazarian going in as champion and going out of it as champion. I don't know who else. Chris Jericho. I think he's trying to collect all the belts. No, you know what? Honestly, I really want this to be the year of Mike Santana, so I'm going with Mike Santana all the way. He's leaving Saturday night with the belt.
I hear you. Here's what I'm going to book this if I was booking it. Mind you, I don't know anything, not been told anything.
Yeah, we know nothing.
I'm just booking this the way as a former booker in wrestling. I'm going to book this in a fantasy book way because that's what we're doing here. Bold predictions, right? So I think Frankie Kazarian, by hook or by crook, walks out of Thursday Night Impact, your champion. Probably, maybe Nick Nemeth tries to cash in, something gets bungled. No matter what, I think Frankie Kazarian walks out, and this is why. I think whoever and I mean, once again, we don't know there's going to be a signing. So if nobody gets signed, by the way, I'm not going to be upset. Sammy's not going to be upset, and hopefully the internet's not upset because we're not saying there's going to be a signing. We're just saying that is likely just because wrestling history, right?
Wrestling history.
I'm saying whoever that signing is will get the shot at Genesis. And if it's not them, it will be AJ Styles who gets the shot at Genesis. Either way, I think whoever leaves Genesis, what you know is the start of the year, it's January. Genesis means the beginning. I think whoever that person is, whether they were signed or whether it's AJ, will walk out the TNA World's Heavyweight Champion to set the year off. So that could be Karrion Kross. Like in all realities, if we're giving out real names, could be Karrion Kross. I don't really think it's Chris Jericho, but we'll throw him out there just in case. Or I really do believe it could be AJ Styles. AJ showing up, we don't know why he's showing up.
Could we see an AJ getting involved in the main event? Yeah, and then a Gunther appearance on TNA. Could we really see that main roster stuff start to bleed into TNA? You know, knowing that they have the TV deal and everything. Could we start seeing that?
Or you're onto something. What if Gunther just comes over? What if at the end of the match somebody wins and Gunther's just like, oh, that's nice. Well, I'm the one that made John Cena tap out like a bitch. And I also beat AJ Styles. So now, Saturday night, I'm free. I want that belt. Once again, I think whatever surprise we're going to have, it's going to be a surprise. Whether it's AJ, whether it's Gunther, whether it's Karrion Kross, whether it's, XYZ that we're not even thinking about at the moment. You know what I mean? I think that would be the freshest way to get people talking.
Yeah, there is the Joe Hendry, factor. He's apparently going to be there, so that is a route you could go. I don't know if I love that.
I just don't think he will because that doesn't feel new and fresh. And,
agreed.
And the reason I'm saying that it would be important to be new and fresh, not that you have to, but the reason why is because think about it. We've already set it up. Thursday, you're debuting on AMC. This is huge for TNA. Maybe not for some people. Maybe some people don't think so, but this is huge. They're going to be in more homes than they have been in a very, very long time. And this is a very big deal for them. So that's fresh. Then you have the opportunity, literally 47 hours later, to be on pay-per-view. So how is it to get more eyes on your new, fresh show than having a new, fresh champion and a new and like a fun, robust way? I think that the stars are aligning to do something like that. Granted, it could not be. And either way, as long as it's good, I don't care. But I just think that would be an opportunity that hopefully they don't squander, if you will. But they're not WWE, so chances are they won't squander it. As of right now, the only people fumbling in wrestling is the creative team over at WWE. If we're calling it right down the middle, because AEW's doing great. TNA's doing great. Hell, AAA's doing great. They're going to debut on Fox this upcoming weekend in Mexico, not here, but in Mexico. So there you go. So like a lot of big things happen in the world of
New
wrestling.
Japan's doing okay with their booking. We'll
New
have to do a
Japan.
ranking
Oh,
of
by the way,
bookings rankings at some point.
did you hear the news? G1 Climax coming to Chicago. The actual G1, not the side tour. An actual night of, or actually, I think it's 2 nights of G1 will be coming from Chicago. So, like in the past, they've done the G1 Climax tour, and it wasn't really anything from the tournament. Yeah. This is actually, they're saying this will be the tournament. They will have tournament match. The round robin will happen from Chicago.
Well,
which is pretty dope.
It's amazing. And it's something, circling back to some of our old efforts, something we've talked about, the WWE is focusing more on the international. So when you have a company like New Japan that is international, or even a TNA or an AEW, that leads to opportunities to do things in the US, something like that. Or, the big swing was always, hey, if WWE is really going to do WrestleMania overseas, why doesn't an AEW run a US show at the same time and see what happens? And obviously that's a huge risk for a company, but at the end of the day, that is a fair question to ask. And TNA TV deal, AEW TV deal, New Japan just had a huge show. Triple A, so there's opportunities out there. So kudos to New Japan for really making a large investment into the US for something. I think it's awesome. I think it's amazing. And setting up other people to do amazing things, and WWE looking at these things and going, oh, we got to do something cool too. Hopefully, please do something cool.
Well, speaking of WWE doing something cool, and here's where we get to have fun. We like to end the show with a nice little editorial, usually question, where the sky is the limit. And that question tonight, and of course, chat, drop your choices in as well. As always, we want to hear from you. That tonight is Royal Rumble, the road to the Royal Rumble bold predictions. Now, what I mean by this is everything is on the table. Let's go bold. Let's go big. Let's go bold. You can pick who you think is going to win the men's. You can pick who's going to win the women's. You can pick if you think somebody's going to, be a surprise entrant. Anything. Listen, I'm trying to get excited about the Royal Rumble, which this is the first time in a long time. And the birthday balloons in the background is because it's my birthday week. So this is a gift to me. So chat, super chat, make sure you drop it in because I want to hear you. I want us to come, myself, you, and anybody else that wants to jump in. I want this to be huge. Like, think about it. This is my birthday because this show's airing on my birthday. Let's give Rich the birthday gift of, hey, now I want to watch the Royal Rumble. Because as of right now, I'm not sold. Okay? So, I will start with you, Sammy. Royal Rumble. Big, bold, exciting. You can be men's or women's. You can do both. I don't care. What do you think is going to happen? Aim for the fences. What's going to be the best Rumble / road to WrestleMania, the most exciting for us going forward?
Well, I would say on the women's side, the biggest and boldest and to me the most exciting thing would be Chelsea Green win. Chelsea Green win. Every time she's on TV, she's money. So let's see that in the prime time of WWE for the next couple months, because that's prime time for them. The way they run their company between January 1st and the end of WrestleMania and a couple weeks after WrestleMania. That is the hottest time for WWE. So I think after we've seen what happened last year, I think you got to go with someone is dynamite and money, and that's Chelsea Green. It's Chelsea Green.
Agreed. I like that. I'll just do women's first, then we'll go, and then we'll do men's. All right. I'm gonna go my big, and I guess it's not bold. I guess it can be, but what would excite me, and it's not because I'm excited about the champion that I'm gonna talk about, but it's because it would be exciting, and it's something that I called a long time ago, and I don't know. They kind of smooched the pooch with having Liv Morgan come back early. Because I thought that was going to be the big surprise entrant to the Rumble and have her win the damn thing, because that would make sense. You know what I mean? But since they didn't do that, I don't know where she is on the return. But Bianca Belair would be a great return to win the Rumble, setting up for a match that we had talked about. Now, granted, her career in WWE hasn't been great, but it would set up that big match between Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, to main event tonight at WrestleMania. I shouldn't say main event because it won't be last, but you know what I mean. Big time match. And at least that way it would give people interest in Jade Cargill going into Mania, because I don't think it's there. I really just don't. I think that ship has sailed. Now that we've said that, men's thoughts. It could be who wins, who's going to be on the road, who's going to debut. What you got?
Well, men's is tougher because if you're looking at, the men have historically main evented, been the final match at WrestleMania, and you're looking at things, and it's like who would really do it? So the obvious choice would be a Braun Breaker would win and go up against a CM Punk, and that would be your main event, which would be an amazing match. But it's kind of missing that aura that we've got with the Roman Reigns and Cody stuff over the past few years, and then last year, a little continuation of that. But when you had John Cena, but the rest of the Mania stuff was a little lackluster. So the focus of the Royal Rumble is not going to be another Jey Uso. It's going to be someone that they are really going to ensure can be dynamite. And quite frankly, it very well could just be Roman Reigns going in and winning it.
I mean, that would be exciting, honestly. So I'm of the thought of this. Some people would say exciting would be Chris Jericho returning in the Rumble.
I think we already know that, though, right? Like we know that's going to happen at this point.
If it happens, it happens. It is what it is. And honestly, I will say this: I don't mind Chris Jericho returning to WWE to do one final victory lap before getting put in the Hall of Fame and going into retirement. I mean, that's kind of what that's for. You know what I mean? Like, if you really think about it, and I'm fine with that. That doesn't mean
I'm cool if he runs a main. Yeah, I'm cool if he even runs a main event program. He doesn't have to win a belt, but even if he's in the main event and runs a program with Punk, like, cool, that's fun.
Right.
Okay.
I'm agreeing with you. I just don't think that that's exciting enough for me to get overly excited about. Granted, I'll be happy because it is what it is, self-deserved. First ballot Hall of Famer, easy, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. However, I'm thinking outside the box, and they've done this a couple times, but this time would be real shocking. What if you set up for maybe a Braun Breaker to win? What if Seth Rollins returns?
It's a possibility.
Braun Breaker
strong
out
possibility.
But at number 30, I don't know where he's in his rehab, but still at number 30, dumps Breaker out, wins the match. He can feud with the Vision, and it all roads point to WrestleMania, where he would presumably take on CM Punk in one of the main events. Once again, yes, we've seen it before, but it is a main event quality match where you can get a lot of mileage out of it. It would be a little more exciting than X, Y, or Z happening. You know what I mean? Like, I get Roman winning is always a big thing. I get, but you can do Roman versus Cody, no belt, if you really want to. They're attractions to themselves. Like, you can maximize your attractions while still making it exciting. I'd like to see like an LA Knight win. That would be out of left field, but I think Jey Uso ruined that last year when we gambled on Jey Uso and it didn't pay off. I'm with you. I think a big name has to win. Hence why I'm picking, if he's healthy, Seth Rollins, and that would be energetic because A, nobody would see it coming because we don't know where he is in his rehab. Yeah. B, it would be a big pop. B, it would set up an instant feud to get us to WrestleMania because obviously he's going to feud with the Vision, and the Vision's going to try to keep him from making it to WrestleMania. But at the same time, he's going to be having to, at the same time he's feuding with the Vision, he's going to have to also be feuding with his mortal enemy, CM Punk, which already makes the main event great. You could even do a strange bedfellows match where you have to have Punk and Rollins take on the Vision, which would be an interesting review match. Before, like, let's say that's the Elimination Chamber main, non-Elimination Chamber main event, if you will. That could be interesting. The two guys who have to face each other at Mania have to get along to survive the Vision. That would be intriguing. So there's a lot of cool things. That's my picks, is that could energize us on the road to WrestleMania. And right now, I'm just not energized.
Because even going into the match, I'm not so much concerned, but I'm just kind of looking at the roster and I'm like, all these guys have been in Rumbles. Like, how are we going to get some new talent in there and some new fresh matchups and people in the Rumble? Otherwise, you're gonna roll out the Usos, you're gonna roll out a Cody, you're gonna roll out a Randy Orton, you're gonna this guy and that guy, and it's gonna be a lot of the samey stuff. So I'm hopeful that we can see some different things in there because they have been starting to move up the NXT crew. So hopefully that'll help.
All right on. Well, That's going to bring us to the end of the show, Sammy. Before we get out of here, I want to once again remind everybody to head on over fanlightzone.com. Comics and pop culture. Make sure you're checking that out. It is the place that presents, if you will, 607 TWS, the wrestling show, each and every week. And of course, we will be back as we are every week on Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here, talking to you. Of course, next week, we'll have a lot to talk about with what happened with the TNA debut, the TNA pay-per-view, and of course, all the other happenings in wrestling. And the only way that you can guarantee yourself a spot there is if you make sure you're following us on the social medias. You're going to fanlightzone.com, and of course, you go over to that YouTube channel, you smash the subscribe button, you click the bell icon for notifications, and you hit that thumbs up to like the video so people know that you want more pro grappling talk on Fanlight Zone's YouTube channel. So until next week, when we talk to all of you wonderful people again, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and most importantly, later, wrestling fans.